Hey everybody, welcome back to Under the Hood, the show where we dive into what Orbee is building, why we're building it. Today, we're going to talk about text message marketing. Last week, I posted something on LinkedIn because I was frustrated with some text messages I've been receiving from apparel companies. And I said that I'm a little bearish on text message marketing. I don't think a lot of people are doing it right. And I got a comment from Luke over in Australia at Westside Auto, one of the biggest used car dealerships in Australia. Great partner of ours. He asked, let me pull this up. What is Orbee doing to enable the conversation starter to occur via text instead of, he calls it the old and clunky email? And I knew that we were doing something. I know it's just not like released yet. So I brought in a tool and I was like, all right, what are we doing? And I mean, he broke it down in 3 steps. So let's talk about it a little bit here.
Yeah, so we already do email marketing, and it is true. It's the old tried and true way of reaching consumers. And my argument, first of all, we get pinged a lot about SMS, right? Our dealers are expecting us to do cutting edge things, and we're very intrigued by SMS, and partially, the tech staff and the resources and the roadmap. That's one piece, but I've always approached these opportunities with a couple of different perspectives. Number one, when you think about what Orbee's building, right? We're building the most comprehensive marketing stack for an auto dealer. So we have to sort of knock out everything that's part of the stack, right? So email is inevitable. You have to have email capabilities. And we believe that consumers, based on the campaigns we're running, that are highly targeted, consumers are clicking on those emails. They're opening the emails, clicking on them, and then doing a lot of conversion activity after coming through that email channel. So we knew that every tech stack has to have email. Dealers are paying other vendors lots of money around email. And if they're sending email out of CRMs, they're not really doing it right. They're either sending blast non-segmented messages. Those links aren't actually used for identity resolution, any of that. So number one point I made was every MarTech stack needs email anyway. So we needed it no matter what. And that's why we spent a lot of time on it. The second is, it's one of the things that I like to think about is the consumer in these cases. When you think about email and what all of the major email platforms from, Gmail and iCloud, Outlook, and so on, what they've all done is made it easy for consumers to organize what's coming in, right? So I don't know if you use this, Chris, but I use the primary promotion social updates forums.
Yeah.
Tabs, if you will, or folders for Google, and they break it down. And I've gotten pretty used to it. And of course, there's there's an effect it has on your open rates, on your click-through rates. But it really, if you think about the user experience, like I hate if emails got in the way of my important my kids' school emails of like a jersey and I need to buy for their sports team or some new signature I need to submit, and I'm just flooded with all these marketing emails, it would get in my way in my life. But what's great is it's there on the side. I could still click promotions. I could see what offers there are. And I think that's an important feature that consumers have gotten used to. So using email is still a decent way to provide a user experience that is fair, but still getting your message out to that client, to that customer, right?
Right.
Text messaging, I mean, think about notifications.
Yeah.
Notifications is inevitably, I mean, we're also eyeing notifications. Let's put it out there. We think, notifications that are either both driven by Safari and Chrome on your mobile phones or by native app capabilities is also an important piece. And so when you think about all of those channels, there are not enough tools. And my concern is that the user will just reply stop because there's no other way. Like It's so easy. I do that a lot. I just reply stop because I've become so accustomed. Now I've seen other large vendors who blast out emails to their customers base who come to us and say, "Hey, can you do this for us too?" And when we review the actual experiences, stop, the opt out is so high.
Right.
And I think that correlates with the fact that there is no other option for the consumer to block this stuff. So you get more frustrated, right?
Hmm.
And so that's my point number two. It's an easy medium. Sorry, it's an email is an easy medium on consumers given the management of these emails by clients and services. So I mean services
Right.
like Gmail and so forth, and clients like if you're using these web tools or a downloaded app like Apple Mail. And then
Right.
finally, email does have this thing that SMS doesn't, but we're seeing an increase of this. So it has a more clear way to prove you're not spoofing. So there's actually a DNS setting that you set. It's called DKIM, and you're actually basically authenticating, just like when you set up a domain name or a C name. You're basically, I mean, when we set up HubSpot for our business, right? To prove that we own the domain, we had to install, like, we had to set up a variable in our DNS records, and that allowed to prove that we own it. Right now, we work with Twilio underneath the hood for our call tracking and for some other telephony related items. And so we know text messaging is inevitable. We already have all the APIs built, but we're only now seeing the need to provide the CEO's sort of driver's license and
Mhm.
identity information for us to even be able to do this. So one of the workflow issues here is just like we help our dealers own their own Google accounts and Facebook accounts, and increasingly even they're doing identity verification because the political sort of fallout on advertising and who's donating money to who and who's buying media for what and Russian interference and so forth. So in these scenarios, there's no easy way. So imagine going to every dealer and saying, "Hey, I need your license. I need to take a picture of that. I need to submit it over to the telephony company, whether it's Twilio, whoever else. And then and only then can you SMS. And oh, and by the way, if there's any issues with the FTC, right? CAN spam compliance, TCPA compliance,
Mhm.
these are other elements around compliance, privacy compliance. Imagine the consumer or the dealer principal being on the hook for those violations. So I'm a
Right.
little careful, but we're definitely going to move in that direction. And there was something that happened. I mean, I don't know. Do you remember short codes by any chance?
Like link shorteners, or what do you mean?
No, so back in the day when ringtones existed, like you
Uh-huh.
would buy ringtones and stuff, you would actually text message these codes. And
Oh,
once in a
yeah.
while, you remember, like, for instance, my BMW of West Houston service message came from not a phone number, it came from 69357.
Mhm.
So the interesting thing is if I write hi to this right now, I'm doing it right now, it's not actually going to no, your message could not be delivered. Please contact your dealership. So if we
Mm.
look up who owns 69357, it's probably an aggregator, 69357. I'd really like for dealers to own their short code, to own the phone number that they're texting from. And remember, we already do, you know, uh, call tracking and so forth. So we already do this. This is Dealer Logics, by the way, owns 69357. So
Mm.
if I'm working with two different dealers as a consumer, those lines are going to cross because
Right.
69357 is not BMW of Houston's short code. So there's some
Got it.
logistics that I want to do behind this before we really go all out. And that's
Mhm.
important. So yeah, that's another big part of it.
Got
So
it.
the idea of SMS is so loaded, and it sounds like I have so many thoughts around this, but I know that we're going in the short term. We've done some prototypes for clients, and we want to do a lot more with our text messaging than just getting a message out there.
Yeah. I think my stance is, to it'd be cool to give the dealer the ability to offer that as a form of communication. I wouldn't advocate, marketing, hey, Orbee has SMS, you should send out text messages. I think that's the wrong approach. That's how you get a bunch of stops, the first one you send out. It's the same thing we do when we send emails on behalf of our clients. We make sure that they're targeted to specific people with a specific message. So you reduce that opt out. So I think it's just allowing them to add a little widget on a VDP that says, text me instead, or instead of like the form submit with an email, just giving them that option. And then you can really see like, okay, maybe the market in Houston has more people that are willing to text. And here in Idaho, maybe like 1% of people would want to get text messages. I don't know. Those are things that each dealer will have to kind of experiment with as soon as the tech is available. But before we kind of wrap up, let's talk about the identity resolution part of it. And can you break down identity resolution and what it means for email, and then how that can be applied to the text messaging?
Yeah, so ID, so when we think about first party ID resolution, it happens in a couple ways. There's when you're listening to the consumer provide that sort of personal information, whether it's their first name, last name, their contact information, or maybe their preferences, right? That's all first party data declared by the user, by the consumer to the dealership. And so that's one form of resolving that identity, right? You don't need a third party to tell you this is who they are if they just did that to you for you themselves.
Got it.
The second is when you send any sort of messaging to the user, those links that are within those messages are effectively a form of soft login or authentication, right?
Because
Like when
they're
I click,
unique.
they're unique, right? So exactly. If I'm not logged into Best Buy, but I come through an email, it's possible that they know that this is me. They might say, hi, Atul in the corner menu, but I'm not able to transact on it. I'm not able to put things in my cart. It just knows that I'm that person, right? And they of course would leverage the cookies. They want to be careful about emails being forwarded to other people. So our email system takes any link and converts it into this ID resolution capability. So if Chris, you've been on this dealership site, you've been browsing around, you haven't declared any of your data, you haven't filled out any form, they don't know who you are, but you've been sort of eyeing this dealership for months. And then finally, after those months, you show up in the store because you stopped by and now they captured your information. Now you got two disparate silos of data. You've got your browsing activity that gives you a lot of insights on what you're interested in and so forth. And maybe you didn't want to stay at the dealership that long. You wanted to look in a car, check out like the storage, the dash, and so forth, and then you bounced. So, but at least you put in your information. In those cases, how do you link the two? Well, if the email that's sent out of the CRM or anywhere else, this is why Orbee really advocates sending it through our system. And we have ways to enable this capability through other systems too. When that link is sent out to Chris and he clicks on that link, we attach the history with the user. Now, text messaging, same thing. These links, can actually be short. Now, our email links, when you look underneath the hood, like these email links are long, right? It's tokenized, meaning there's all these alphanumeric, components that kind of tell us who this person is. So you can't do that in text messaging. You don't want to see this
Super
giant
long
link. Yeah, exactly. So we plan to shorten that capability to still provide resolution, and especially when we can bridge the desktop activity with the mobile activity and so on, that's going to be extremely powerful. I will say we have work to do there. We do have a click tracker, but we don't have a shortener yet. And we think every dealer should actually go and buy a shortened version of their name, right? So if you're Holman, they have HLMN, right? Yeah. And you've seen this all the time. Like you won't see starbucks.com. You might see sbucks.com, or when you click on a news article for Wall Street Journal or Washington Post, it's usually wsj.it/ or .go.
Right.
So I would recommend every dealer go buy that. If you don't, it's no problem. When you activate with us, we usually have dealers go out and register a special shortener to
Hmm.
do this. So
Man,
yeah, that's a big part of this is
yeah.
ID resolution.
Gosh, setting up ID resolution in whatever channel is going to be huge for the use case where someone walks in, they don't spend a lot of time, and the salesperson doesn't really know enough about that person because they were there such a short amount of time. Like, how do I connect with this person? How do I get them back? But if they knew what they'd been looking at for 3 months before, you didn't have the opportunity to see the other cars you've been looking at because maybe they weren't there. But now the salesperson knows, okay, as soon as I get this other car back in stock, I'm going to hit him up because he was looking at that
Exactly.
before.
So
Yeah.
that massive CDP profile engine with all this ID resolution, and let's be clear about something. All these things like loyalty programs,
Hmm.
checking in at a restaurant to see if you have that free dessert on that visit. I have
Yeah.
everything from Panera bread to like Torchy's tacos. I was at Torchy's over the weekend, and you get a barcode to scan when you arrive. But
Mm.
what's the point of this barcode? Well, you're earning points, and I'm a sucker for that. It's funny.
Yeah.
I'm in the business of Martech, so I should be careful. But you also know you're opting in. But if you look here, I'll just show you a real quick example. There's my rewards. Here, let's see.
Made you full
uh,
screen. Let's see.
yeah, so there's Torchy's rewards. Here, let me go ahead and I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna
Mirror. There we
flip it
go.
around, and so you can see I've checked in, and I have one reward available. And if I scan to check in, there's my barcode. Uh, and there you have your barcode that you would check in. And why do that? Because now I can actually connect this visit to who this user is and then what they bought and what they historically bought. And that's why I think loyalty programs, especially for large dealer groups,
Yeah.
like I saw the folks over at Flow Automotive, they have this really cool app called Flow Garage, and
Hmm.
they give rewards for bringing in your car for service. Brilliant, because that's the glue that will keep the user incentivized fairly
Right.
for providing their identification and connecting all of these dots, because there's value
Mm.
in it for them. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, Chris. There's so much to do, and we're just chipping it away at it. But what most of our clients have come to see is we're constantly adding things. So
Yeah.
back to the beginning of this conversation, SMS is coming, but we're going to do it very like in a way that's going to make the rest of our platform even more powerful.
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to go take 2 shots now because you said under the hood twice during this recording. So I think it's appropriate. But yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching.